All right, we are back for our final best of one here of the evening in this group stage playday night here for XGS Season 7. We are going to be seeing CHAWK at G go up against Wildcard ACES.
Yep, it's gonna be another group stage match, and I'm gonna actually figure out because I didn't do my homework. It's gonna be a Group B match for CHAWK at G and the Wildcard Aces. And so far for CHAWK at G, they are bottom of the group with 2 regulation losses. Wildcard Aces have only 1 win and 1 loss. But in their very first win of the season, when they played on the very first day, they looked really good and very electric to start the day off.
And not only that, but they're definitely the team with more name recognition. Now, as we just learned with Karn & Co. and Unks, name recognition and both the org name recognition and the player name recognition doesn't mean everything. It's no determining factor necessarily if you're going to win or lose. But Wildcard Aces are a team that, they play a lot. They're in almost every one of these T3 tournaments. They're always around. They're surely a familiar face if you tune into these broadcasts. So they definitely look like they not only are doing better in this tournament, they probably have a bit more experience too than the roster of CHAWK at G. But once again, still early on in the group stage for both teams. They have strats that they could bring out. They really have yet to show their true colors. So hopefully for CHAWK at G, they're a little bit more lively than the 0-2 that they've done so far, but we have yet to really see.
Yeah, but in defense of CHAWK at G, you do have a couple of experienced players on this team. You have Schmink, HUD. You also have Safe, Hold, Reapers, Gecko. You have plenty of experienced players in the T3 sector. HUD has played T2 before as well. Nobody can forget that. But the Mad Beetles are in as well, and it makes a lot of sense that Consulate has been banned out. We haven't seen a single Consulate game tonight. And the only time we've seen a Consulate game so far in XGS Season 7 was the Makers game in their very first game of the season just yesterday. But we are going to go back to Border, and to be fair, this doesn't surprise me one bit like how it surprised me in the game between Makers and Team Sesh, because both of these teams play into very aggressive playstyles. Border is exactly the map for that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very aggressive first map, or at least it wasn't the first map of the night. It was our first map that we casted. It was the third map of the night. It was very aggressive, and we're probably going to see something similar here. Different teams have different strategies, but on Border, they all seem to play fairly similarly because it just comes down to, once again, it comes down to gun skill. So I doubt we'll see anything super unique. I love to be surprised, and I love to see a team maybe play it a specific way, but usually it's just a good way to assess how good is a team's gun skill, how good are their individual performances, and Border really is the testing grounds for that sort of thing.
Yep, and I think that's why this match is going to be really, really good to watch out for. I think Wildcard Aces come into this game as the favorites, just because of namesake alone, and also because of the pedigree of the players that are on this roster currently for the Wildcard Aces, compared to what we have on CHAWK at G. That's not to say that players on the CHAWK at G roster are not good players. I think they are. I just think Wildcard Aces are better. But I also thought that about Karn & Co. And the Ucks fully surprised us at a very good win and a very deserved win in just the game previous to this. So things can change. Expectations can turn into disappointment. And that can certainly be the case here for Border between CHAWK at G and Wildcard Aces. Garage is going to watch out.
I don't remember all the operators that are banned on that first map. It was Monty. I want to say it was Ying. And then I believe Azami and... Oh, was it Deimos on Border?
It was... Oh, wait, no. No, it was... No, it was Monty, Dokkaebi.
I don't think Doke was banned. Maybe we're all wrong. No, sorry. I was talking about Border when it was first played. I think it was Monty. I want to say Ying, and then I believe it was Azami and Valkyrie. I wonder if we're going to see the exact same bans, just because they're all operators that can be really strong on Border as they're strong on any map, but understandable you want to avoid. So far, we're 3 for 3.
And it wouldn't be too surprising. It wouldn't be too surprising to see the Azami being banned out here because of how good she can be for holding security, for example, but also how good she can be in ensuring the attackers have such a hard time entering the map, which can be very easy on Border, especially because of how close knit the whole entire map is, especially them being right next to spawn. So no zombie being banned, but instead it's going to be the Fenrir. And to be fair, you don't want a Fenrir and a Melusi in the same lineup on a map like Border when you are attacking first. But that is going to be CHAWK G's the last defensive ban, and they're starting off with a defense first here.
Not exactly the same set of bans, but fairly similar and equally as understandable as the first time we saw Border tonight. Getting into the map, it's curious to see this. So wildcards are going to be on attack. They're going to be ones setting the tone. Are we going to see some aggression matched immediately by CHAWK? Are we going to see spawn peaks and runouts coming out in this first round, in the first couple of seconds? Or is it going to take a little bit before the defenders start doing that? Are wildcard ACES going to walk away with it? These questions will all be answered in the next 30 seconds as we get into the thing.
Oh no.
It's always heartbreaking to see potentially a rehost having to happen. It's unfortunate it happens. Siege. We all know how it goes.
Oh no. We just got into the game, please.
We're
it's
so close.
10:30 as well. It's so close. And it looked like everything was established too, especially when it came to like their operator lineup. I saw the Umai, I saw the Azami because she was left unbanned, unlike the first match that we had between Makers and I'm blanking. Makers
Sesh.
and Team
Sesh.
Sesh, yes.
Team Sesh.
So yeah, they had that, so I imagine they were going to extend pretty far into security. They also had the Mira as well, and I can imagine that once the rehost is completed, they will be sticking to at least the 3 established operators that I saw in that lineup, plus the other 2 that they had too. So it looked like maybe CHAWK wanted to play pretty aggressively in the early round, while also ensuring that they had some utility for the mid lane.
All right, well, we'll throw to a quick break here, so go grab something to eat, but we'll be back really soon, hopefully, to continue this match in the final match of the evening. I'm going to hold my breath because that's how fast we're going to be back. I was holding my breath that whole time. I hope no one else was doing that. I'm a trained professional. I swam for many years. I am capable of holding my breath for the 4 minutes, wherever it may have been.
Okay, I giggled at that. That was actually pretty funny.
Thank you. I worked very hard.
And you're a liar because you literally talked that whole time.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Alright.
Talk me, a caster? Why would I ever talk? Why would I yap?
Oh, you got me. And it looks like though Chocolate are sticking to the same operators that they did have. I didn't see the Malusi and the Frost there at first, but I guess that makes a lot of sense, especially considering how WILDCARD ACES like to aggressively push inside of the map. You at least want to have these trap ops in order to lock down the entry point. Because you have the 4 Banshees now with the Malusi, that's made it even easier. And you can also lock down the windows with the Frost match too. So if WILDCARD ACES just randomly jump into a window, they don't throw that out. It's very possible that they just die to a Frost match. It's 100% possible that happens. But even then, regardless of that, first round here for CHAWK G and WILDCARD ACES, and already a spawn peak here established from Gekko.
We are seeing that immediate aggression. I was wondering about, are we going to see spawn peaks right off the bat? Is this going to be that type of order? And yeah, it is. And looking at the attacker lineup too, we got some interesting stuff. Not only is there the Blitz and the Glaz, but also Amaru coming in. So Blitz and Blaz could potentially mean we're going to see something kind of explosive. Doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen early on in the round, but the execute itself could be very quick and sudden as they force their way into sight while Glaz provides overwatch and they smoke off and go for a plant. But we'll see. They're stacked up outside security window. They're poised to go quickly. They're just kind of waiting for the call in the frost mat. Gonna take all the wind out of there. Reapus though does answer back pretty quickly. The Amaru not gonna work. However, despite the fact that WILDCARD doesn't seem to be working too well in those operators I was talking about, the other fighters seem to be doing just fine in terms of keeping things up. In fact, they have man advantage, except now Gekko does get picked up, so it is even. But for a second there, it looked like it could have been going the way of WILDCARD ACES. They still do take site control. They can get a successful plant down, and they're in a good position to do some solid overwatch here as they have a Glaz. They are much better in terms of HP, and this round might be done right now.
Yep, you're also watching the flanks here. That's one collected from Refrost. Might find a second, and he does find a triple as well in the round. He could find a quad if Schmeek tries to aggress into security, but he's been scared away with his tail between his legs. Found himself a fountain. Frank finds him first. And WILDCARD ACES take an explosive round number 1 off of some really good trade games. But especially around the lockers area, they cleared that space out. The rest of the defenders were just in Archives and Fountain, and they just recognized that they're in that area of the map. They're nowhere near sight. They can execute, and that was a really well-played first round from the WILDCARD ACES.
It's the type of thing that usually you can't get away with more than once, especially if the other team at least is thinking about it. But if you can get at least one round off of plays like that, you might as well. That gives them a free, easy attack. And now you're going to look, they can still change their attacking lineup right now, but it's a lot more conventional looking. We're not going to see any sort of immediate, sort of more gimmicky plays like you do have with someone like Amaru. And gimmickly, none, no disrespect at all. But you're going to see a bit more of a conventional lineup coming out as they're probably going to play it a bit more familiar, but they got that first round, and that's what matters, because you only need, at the end of the day, it's the round that matters. It doesn't matter how you get it, doesn't matter what strategies you're using. You get the round and win the game.
Yep, and to be fair to WILDCARD ACES, the way that they pushed that was just all together. Refrag potential was very strong. The Amaru dying in Sandwich window immediately refragged by the player on the armory balcony. And they also had security control, so going for that trade from the armory balcony was very safe to do indeed. So very solid stuff here from the WILDCARD ACES. And again, it's a very solid start for them. With Zer's going for a run out on East Stairs, that's his Tommy already dead. I'm surprised that he actually committed to that. I thought he would have just ran right back on in. He doesn't. That gives the very first pick over to the WILDCARD ACES, and now you don't have that Azami anymore to help with this extensive hold and close off some of these exterior angles.
Very curious as to why you use Azami for the run out when there is.
I don't know.
There's an Aruni and a Vigil, both of whom are operators that largely, they're not bringing any sort of site setup anymore, especially if you get Azami's stuff down in the setup phase. You can spawn peek with those characters, but you go with Azami, and that's all of those Kiba barriers that generate over time that you're not going to be able to use. In the meantime, Reapus did get down, but picked back up, so on low HP, but still functional. Meanwhile, there's been just some little engagements back and forth, but nothing finding anything of significant damage. Just a lot of droning, a lot of using Twitch drones, Rotero drones, and potentially an engagement here. Reapus does go down. His HP doesn't matter. Spider finds a headshot to even out things a little bit. We're going to see Kronk going up on the window here to at least start putting some pressure onto the armory side of things. Going to set up a Claymore. We're going to see Lion scans going down. Just a lot of work being done here to make things uncomfortable for the defenders and start opening up avenues for the attackers.
Almost another good opportunity for Spider to be fed another 1v1 as the Wildcard Aces almost failed to pinch him effectively, but really well played. A narrow gunfight being won by Teddy. Gets pulled out of control over by the office area. Rooney is completely stranded, not only from the archives, but also just from the office wall instead. But they just pushed in one by one. Wildcard Aces, what are you doing? They get 2-3 picks over to Gekku, and with that, CHAWK G put themselves in a 3v2 with a minute left.
After that first pick went the way of Gekku, we shouldn't have expected Teddy to re-peek it, but for some reason Teddy does and just falls to the DMR. Not a particularly smart play. It gives CHAWK man advantage. Of course, HUD is on 8 HP, so HUD will go down fast, but it also still means that man advantage goes the way of CHAWK, which could gift them their first round as we're getting the last 30 seconds here. It's really going to have to be a big play out of both Kronk and Dame if they want to make something happen.
Yeah, luckily for them, this is a very doable situation. Archives, or the player in Archives, is very stranded all by himself. So if they can get the info inside of sight to figure out that this player is all by himself, that'll be great for them. But they only have 50 seconds left to work with.
Exactly what they needed. Kronk and Dame both win their 1v1s, meaning it's all up to the 8 HP player of HUD, and he manages to find one, but the trade is there. Dame goes down, Kronk picks it back up. Really well played as these two got each other's backs and are just putting out some really good kills there to get that clutch.
Yep, just recognizing their win conditions in that round and finding picks and finding weakness points there for CHAWK G. The player in Archives didn't really have a direct crossfire onto the fountain doorway, and so he was left in a very awkward position in a very awkward gunfight. And Kronk is a player who can win his gunfights really, really well, and then a player on the armory push as well also just isolated his gunfights too. And again, there was really no crossfires held from CHAWK G, because to be fair to them, Wildcard Aces pushed from 2 completely different angles. What crossfire can you effectively hold? You just have to win your gunfights and hope that you're successful in doing so. They did have 3 players alive, so maybe a crossfire could have been established. Either way, a second round was found from Wildcard Aces, and that one just brought back from the grave. Really well done from Wildcard Aces.
Wildcard Aces looking to go for a definite vertical push here. No surprise, but they're bringing both the Buck and the Ram, as well as a Lion, to potentially help with that roam clear early on and just make it a bit easier and safer for those vertical characters to do their job. It's really important, as we were talking about earlier when we were casting the first map of Border, that holding above Shower and holding that with that hatch is something that's really important for the defenders. So it's understandable why you'd, as an attacker, want to bring so much stuff to then get rid of those defenders and then take control of the vertical and start turning it against sight.
To ensure that vertical is pretty effective, they brought not only the Buck but also the Ram to ensure that vertical will be done no matter what the circumstances is. Even if the Buck falls, you still have the insurance of the Ram. You'd rather have both in this round too, on top of the breaching charges that you do have. So they are setting up for a top floor take, and it's going pretty slow here for Wildcard Aces, all things considered, but this is kind of something that they usually like to do. They set themselves up outside of the map, they get drones in, and then they just kind of explode from 3 different angles while also ensuring that they stay on top of the trade game.
Buck's gonna start pushing in here, but you can see CHAWK lighting up for the first real time. Gekku and HUD both find one. Reapus answers back, so you can start to minimize that advantage that CHAWK is getting. but they're still in man advantages. It's a 4v3 right now, and it looks like Wildcard Ace's push kind of going to be stopped in its track, at least for the second, as they've lost a lot of that initial push prowess they had. While Teddy trying to find another one, using the heavy rounds from that DMR to burn some of these Azami barricades, but they just go right back up after that. Keeping Azami alive here on this top east stairs where that position is just so difficult to unroot sometimes.
Iron Call used. Teddy makes an entry work inside of Archives. Repost is also moving up the metal stairway too. No hard breaches to get the fountain wall open, so they're just trying to make an entry work with limited entry opportunities here throughout the top floor. And they also don't really have any drones ahead of the players, so they're just kind of going into this really blind, which can serve as a advantage towards CHAWK on his defense.
A great pick by Zur, finds one onto Teddy. That pinch coming out a little bit too late from the person on the back. Reapus does eventually get it, but like I said, they already lost Zur, and look at the time, 40 seconds left. So much time wasted getting rid of that east stairs player that they barely have time to really start applying vertical, and there's flanks behind them. There are people watching. They don't know where these guys are. They completely lack in information, and that gives an easy pick over to Spider. Shut down Reapus. It's all going to be up to Dame, who has one person up in Fountain, but this is just essentially taking time away, as he's going to be nowhere near to aggressing site. He doesn't have diffuser on him, and it's an easy headshot. Little peek there. So, dirty kill from Spider to finish things up. Wow. That is crazy.
That is crazy. Like, I swear, I feel like in this game we're just gonna see a lot of that from both teams, where they're just gonna have like nice shots. I mean, Reapus from down below killing the Customs player was like a really nice shot as well. It was like a really slim angle, but he still somehow managed to get it. But I think towards the beginning part of that round, and even like at the end, it was very much obvious at the end. The information game just wasn't really that good for WILDCARD ACES when they tried to encounter what was happening around the second floor, and especially when they started to lose bodies. Their effectiveness for the clear and the effectiveness to start playing a trade game was very limited, because they had a limited men count. You have effectively less people to drone for you. You have less people to trade off of and play off of, and so it's very easy to close out for CHAWK G in the end. And they at least confirmed their first round on the defensive side here for quarter.
Curious to see how Wildcard Aces are going to respond to that, as one of the main problems really came down to, well, one, they had a lot of trouble getting some of those dug-in positions cleared out, like that top east stairs, but there were other spots where they really just didn't have that much information or enough utility to clear, and they were also struggling to pin down these flanking roamers from the defense. And so that's kind of why I think you see Rebus hopping onto the Nomad, give them some flank denial, or give them some flank denial. You also see El Jefe going on to Capitao. That's a great way to potentially get rid of some of those dug-in defenders, as you throw a firebolt their way and just make that position unplayable. And so I like the adaptations that we're seeing, at least from the picks, but we have to see if Wildcard Aces can actually use those adaptations in a successful way.
Yep, it's all nice and fun bringing the operators. It's all about how you use utility, or if you use it at all. They do have a top floor hold here. Even though the Azami is playing inside of offices, he doesn't have the, I want to say, Canadian wall reinforcement. I can't say the other word for it. So that's a very soft position to play behind, but the fallback happens, and Spider ends up getting the very first pick from CHAWK off of just killing him from the bullet hole. Again, another nice shot here from CHAWK G, who are still retaining this top floor hold, and maybe not the best of information gathering here from WILDCARD ACES.
It's an unfortunate way to lose, and losing your Twitch is pretty big too, especially since none of the other operators that ring really provide much in the way of information. Those extra Twitch drones could have been big, and Spider finds a second one. This time it's on the Ash, on an absolute tear, and there just is no response right now from WILDCARD ACES. You have to make something happen. We're going to see Rebus try and aggress to maybe find a pick. None of the utility or the strategy seems to be working, but it is border, so could just go in and start getting kills. This is going to be a pretty unfriendly fight. He's got someone on the half wall. That small office by him has footholds opened up. He's going to have to flash one person, take one engagement at a time. He's able to get inside, but Schmink eventually gets wise and knows exactly where he is, shuts him down. Dame finds one onto Zur, so it's not all lost, but Wildcard Aces are still down 2 players and there's less than a minute to go.
And they just seem completely confused about what's been happening. And the same thing that happened in the previous round, where like players are just kind of like walking directly into crossfires that they don't really know has been established here for CHAWK. You still have a player upstairs, and I don't think Wildcard Aces know about this. But now they hear him. The spray comes in from El Jefe, but he's gone down. Last player alive is Dame, who's going down these stairs, but he's probably not going to find a single kill because CHAWK have just bunkered off.
And once again, save for any crazy throw coming out of the defense. It looks like we're going to see a tie game at 2-2. Once again, nothing too crazy, as this map can favor the attack, and you oftentimes see it be a lot closer than the more defender-sided maps. That's exactly it. Schmink gets the final kill. 2-2 right now. If you are Wildcard Aces, you definitely want to at least get one more attacking round, though. You don't want to lose your attacking half here outright. You want to at least tie it up or get something successful. So they have to at least change their strategy, because right now, CHAWK has kind of gotten wise to what Wildcard Aces are bringing. They've adapted. Now it's Wildcard Aces' turn to adapt, and they have to do something different.
Yep, I mean, it starts off with just trying to be slightly more closer knit, not trying to sit and go for these individualistic aggressive plays in very isolated positions, and having better drone work and more information around you. And I like the fact that Wildcard Aces is going into this round. They bring something slightly different. They bring more information gathering utilities. Surprise, surprise. They bring the Grim, they bring the Deimos as well. And that can surely help you when it comes to getting more information and better organizing your pushes, because so far for Wildcard Aces, if you look back on that last round specifically, the pushes haven't really looked well organized.
5 seconds to insertion.
That Deimos could be really useful coming from below. If you can find any of those defenders out on any soft floor. Could be useful. And as you were saying, a lot more information coming out from Wildcard Aces could also net them some important kills, as it's not just the Deimos, but using the extra drones and the Koana hives that Grim can bring can do a lot in terms of making defenders only have a handful of locations that are safe to play as on site, less than a handful really. And so that can make it really easy to get people through the floor or to get successful pinches. And now once again, just looking at Zur, who's going to get a little bit aggressive, going to be playing this position in security, has a rotate out, but he will probably play that position for a while, as the zombie barricades can be used to create cover where needed if the pressure starts to mount and get too hot.
Yep. And not only are CHAWK, like you mentioned, they're establishing control below with Deimos. They don't have a button to help this, but you at least still have the Magnum. That can make a lot of soft hurt. The Deimos suffering a lot of damage. You have to have somebody at least on the windows with Wada highs to support this, and maybe even jump into the security window too. But nobody from Wildcard Aces is really going that aggressive. They finally do get a kill, but it's not onto the Azami playing security room. That's somebody else playing a completely different position. A refract from CHAWK evens out the man count for now, but still they really haven't gained any ground apart from going in these stairs.
Kronk with another big pick there to take the lead here. They still have that Deimos below who's just feeding information and making things uncomfortable for the defenders. So right now it's a 3v3 up on the second floor, but CHAWK is going to be under a lot of pressure. There's going to be more information for Wildcard, which puts them in a really good spot. They have plenty of time too, so as long as they don't dwindle too much of it, they can either locate all of these defenders and just pinch them off, take the engagements, or they can start and take control of site and play more objective. Either way, though, they have to be wary of, I think this is HUD right here, just lurking on this little bit of wall. Not sure if they're 100% where he is. They now know, as he's going to get spotted out by that drone. Schmink finds a pick onto Kronk. That's going to even things up, and that's going to make it infinitely more difficult now, as things are going to be fully tied up. That flash isn't going to work, too, as HUD peeks out just in time to catch Teddy, and there's no refrag. You can see Reva's looking for something, but he's just not going to be gifted anything, and with 35 seconds left, it looks like CHAWK may have just stolen the round.
Yep, and really the round was settled once Schmink helped with the back push. I believe that was either maybe towards 90 or even towards the offensive position. Reaper tries to make something happen by beepers, but it doesn't work. Doesn't have enough information, runs right into a triple crossfire. last player alive is going to be
15
Dame
seconds
playing inside a
remaining.
security room. Kawana Highs give nothing to him, and well, CHAWK are giving nothing to him. But what they are going to get is a round win here on Border, and that puts them 3-2 in the lead, 1 round away for potentially being 4-2 up. Now when they go to their attacking half.
It was a well played round by CHAWK. I really liked some of the ways in which they held. Once it got close to those last 30 seconds, they weren't over peaking. They were just holding these cross angles. But at the same time, there were a few kills, or a few, I should say, engagements that did not go the way. That one in particular from Repas, you just kind of have to feel for the guy, as he has beat on someone in that Africa area, and he's shooting at them, but he just can't make it work. You know, his bullets are just hitting just around. They're hitting like a metal bar, and that's really unfortunate. And then he goes to hop in, and there's someone there. It was just unlucky timing. That's one of those games that really could have gone the other way, and that could have changed the course of the round, but it didn't because of just the microseconds of the timing there.
Honestly, it's just like slight little mistimings, like team play from WILDCARD ACES that have completely like sealed their deal in a round. Like they even tried to send somebody on a back push. I mentioned it like through offices or even probably through 90, and a player in archives dealt with them. And so, like again, their options are very limited. It's very well telegraphed where they're pushing from. The smoke grenades pause them from entering, and then it enables some aggression there from CHAWK G, who have out-aggressed WILDCARD ACES so far in this defensive half of Border. And to be fair, it's turned into a real slaughterfest in favor of CHAWK G, when originally, like, if you look at this game, you think WILDCARD ACES, especially with the start that they had to the season compared to CHAWK, that they would come into this game as the firm favorites, and so far, CHAWK are taking the fight to them, and they're succeeding in doing so.
It's a big round. Either CHAWK take the lead for their defensive half, or it gets tied up, and then we switch sides. The WILDCARD ACES really want this round. And see, they're going to be starting picking up this top floor, and they're going to be encountering, once again, Xur as a zombie holding on to that top east. They're able to do quite a bit of damage on Xur, so that helps, but not able to quite get rid of him. And there you go. He's too concerned with sticking the Kiba barrier and didn't end up winning that engagement. Gets picked off, but Yefku is on there immediately to replace him and use that Q barrier and find a great trade back onto Dame. So that's going to make things a lot harder. Potentially looking for a second kill, but in a bad position as there are multiple angles hunting him down. Not quite killed yet, but almost certainly in a place where he can't be revived.
Teddy can confirm that kill. A much better start to the round from WILDCARD ACES, playing better off of each other. They're ensuring that they're getting trades, and also even if CHAWK and G do find a trade back, it's WILDCARD ACES to answer back almost immediately. They're playing better off of each other. Information seems to be pretty solid as well in this round. Now you only have 2 players to climb on the second floor for a first floor defense. It's going to get real messy, especially if CHAWK and G don't have a chance to fall off. The fuse is going to be attempted in the meantime, though, as WILDCARD ACES prepare for their execute.
I'm just a tad too late to stop that, and the coverage is still good anyways. Teddy finds one, Repas finds the other. Unsurprisingly, WILDCARD ACES are able to take that round, so they tie things up as we swap sides. Now WILDCARD ACES are going to be on the defense. We're going to have to see how good CHAWK is at attacking. Sometimes teams just are better defending teams, because I think in general, defense doesn't require as much coordination. It's a bit more individualistic. It's a lot of you play your own area and you react to what the attackers are doing. Whereas when you're on the offense, you have to be pushing the envelope. You set the tempo. You have to, as a team, you have to move a lot more consistently. And this might be where, you know, we see that WILDCARD ACES were just the better team, and the fact that they were able to get 3 is impressive. But I'm just talking about what could happen. We are going to see what will happen as we are now underway into round number 7.
It's going to be round switch as well. Reminder, we don't work by the quarter system rules, so this is completely 6-6, and it's probably late to remind you at this time of night, but yeah, that's just, if you're tuning in, that's just how it is. And we're doing replays. Wait, now? What? Sure. Sorry. It completely caught me off guard. Anyways, CHAWK are going to be playing their first round on the attacking half, and it's very interesting because, like, they bring a lot of the stability utility. Well, okay, they're bringing the Ash, they're bringing the Flores,
Attackers must
they're
locate and
bringing
defuse
a
the
lot
bomb.
of things as well as the DMR to help them deal with a lot of the utility that's being placed in front of them, specifically the zombie barriers. And they also have the Brava as well to counter the Malusi gadgets and the cap traps too, to make the entry game a lot more easier for them. So I like the planning that they have going into this round. They're going to be playing with a lot of aggression, but they also are going to make sure that they make it easier for themselves by way of utility.
Hopefully for CHAWK, with all those extra drones that they're bringing, they do manage to spot out those can traps. But again, on a map that moves this quickly, you might not have seen them, as they might not even be droning. Well, Zur does find a pick onto Dame, and it did look like he had a read there, so they clearly have some information, as it's a beautiful headshot. And I agree with Dame, finding his head right over that banister was a pretty big way to do things, and it gives him a start. That's a great way to start as an attack. We were just talking about how coming onto attack, they have to set the pace, and that's a great way to set the pace.
Changing mag.
So very good kill to find, like you mentioned. And it's a good start to their attacking half as well. So like to get a pick, I'm not sure where Dame was specifically playing, but I mean that gives them some leeway to go inside of the map and now try and work the security control, because you have realistically less players playing up here, less support around you. But Zer's down below finds himself in a bit of trouble because he gets down, and that's the buck down below to apply more pressure towards the security player in a repass.
Well, C4 is not going to find anything. Zur is going to get picked back up, so that will keep CHAWK at least in a somewhat comfy advantage right now. But it can be taken away at any moment just because Zur is low on HP. And also, Wildcard Aces still control a decent amount of the map until now. Schmink, the great push in, and just to find one, and all of a sudden the flood is happening, but it's going the way of Wildcard as Teddy and Kronk are able to light up two. CHAWK got a little too aggressive and didn't quite have as much control as I think they thought they did.
Yep, and you still also have Kronk playing inside of the break room position. So, and they don't really know this yet. Information has been like a really big struggle bus for both teams, especially when the mute has been picked, but also because they're just not necessarily using their drones at the moment. Now they figured out the person in break room is there. And it looks like they will try and like focus their sights over towards site. A team kill happens for Wildcard Aces, and it may give CHAWK an opportunity to just run right on in.
That's Kraid going both ways. It's going to be down to a 1v1. Teddy on much lower HP, and HUD is able to find it. No headshot there, so that HP definitely playing a factor in that engagement. And ooh, through the wall like that, that's a brutal way to lose it out. You hate to see it, but CHAWK it with a great opening round. It's a little close, but they managed to take it, though.
Yeah, they do, to be fair. I mean, it's just them recognizing one player's in break room. We can try and take our separate 1v1 gunfights in our respective areas, archives, and then going into lockers. I mean, he didn't know, or yeah, the Flores didn't know, that was Geku, didn't know that there was a player in small office, but I mean, he just ran right past on, got the info because the dude tried to shoot him in the foot, and he immediately killed him. So, like, really nice stuff there from CHAWK to just recognize, well, we have our freedom to take our 1v1 engagements. Let's be confident in doing so. And they were. And so, I mean, they just completely take that round away from Wildcard Aces. Actually, he didn't win that gunfight, but I mean, you know, you still get the trades there. And eventually you do get that 1v1 too. So, very nice stuff there for CHAWK to put themselves ahead on their very first round on the attack.
Yeah, no, like I was saying, in terms of setting the pace and everything, I think that's exactly what they wanted to do. It was a little sketchy, but they ultimately win it out. And if that's anything to show for how their attacks are going to look, it bodes kind of well for them, because at least they show that they can take some stuff, and it's not going to be completely just, well, they don't have any coordination. Wildcard Aces are going to be able to hunker down and hold on defense. Wildcard Aces are going to have to keep fighting every single round for the win here, and it might be a pretty difficult win for them, even though they were very much the favorites.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, this is a great turnaround as well for CHAWK, because remember, they started off the season 0-2, so to see them be in the lead against a team that's currently in second place in Group B, is a complete shock to me, and I'm liking it so far. I like it when teams that aren't theoretically the favorites come into the game, and then they completely switch things around and show us what they can do.
Yeah, it's been nice to see the upset. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see the actual results and whether or not the upset can be fully completed. As you can see, we're in a tech pause. So we'll go to another break. We'll be right back after this short pause. I'm not going to hold my breath this time, but you guys can if you want. Please don't. We're back. Told you it was a quick break. I would never lie. Hopefully, say this, knock on wood. I don't think we could hear that. Hopefully, we were able to get through this last couple of rounds here flawlessly.
Flawlessly.
I don't want any more tech pod.
Oh yeah, to be fair, I thought you meant like you wanted this game to end like quickly. I was like, oh, I didn't know you wanted to get out of here so quickly. No,
Nope,
to be
just-
fair, I mean, yes. To be fair though, like there hasn't really been
Defenders, protect your bombs from
many
being defused by
rehosts
attackers.
tonight. I know last game we had one rehost.
Yeah.
In just this game alone, we only had 2, which is funny because this is the last game of the night, and currently it's like 11 p.m. EST. So, yeah, I would hope the game. I would hope this last game just goes along swimmingly and everything just goes flawlessly, and there's like no more crashes. Otherwise, I'm gonna be very, very sad. But irregardless of that, CHAWK find themselves on not match point, but in the lead so far. So on their way to putting themselves on match point here on a border attack. After a very close round, where they just kind of like recognized that like take their ones independently, and they did do that, and they won all of them, especially the 1v1 at the end.
It was a big round for them. Some of that momentum that they could have been carrying might have been slightly deflated, as tech pauses can tend to do that if you're on a hot streak, tend to maybe cool you off a little too much, but it can also give you time to think a bit more. And in case you were to get too hot, we're going to see an immediate run out. He attempted, he's going to get the down, go out, make sure you get that kill, Kronk. Going to take one out on the Schmink, and so that's a great way to start things off, because now that a Rooney is all the way back in the building, there's no way to get a trade aside from just sprinting in and hoping for the best. Rooney is fully safe, and CHAWK are just going to have to fight this one with one person down.
Yeah, and honestly, the way that he went about it is very individual-like. And so has Gekyu just walked himself up into armory lockers, takes out Reefus, and doesn't pay for it. I was very surprised that he doesn't get immediately traded out there, but you at least get a man back that was robbed of you in that early kill onto Schmeat. So very nice stuff there from CHAWK, trying to kill back and recognizing that another player was very much isolated with no refrag potential, and then getting out of there once WILDCARD decided to want to go for that quick trade back. But it seems like right now CHAWK have completely adjusted themselves over for a full horizontal take here.
Gonna see the attack punching holes, using drones. They're just trying to find everything. But as we were saying before, you can have all these great strategies, bring all this great utility. You have to be able to execute onto it right now. And they have ideas of where someone like Kronk is, but they're struggling to make the pinch happen, at least in a timely fashion. Because at this point, even if they do successfully take Kronk out, look at how much time is left. They're going to have a minute, and there's some traps and castle barricades they've got to go through. Kronk looking to potentially rotate around and make something happen. That C4 not going to kill Spider, but going to do a ton of damage. That's going to make him weak and potentially make him scared a little bit. He's going to have to go off and retreat from that close angle. And oh, looking away at just the wrong time, but somehow swings back in time to find it. Kronk finds one on Gekyu. HUD answers back, keeping things even, shuts down Teddy. 3v3, last 40 seconds. That final logic bomb's going to go off, and its effects are going to be gone. Buck looking for a pick, not going to be able to find anything, but has an idea of whereabouts Kronk is. His flash and his execute has to be good, but Kronk, they just never executed on him. He gets 2. He's on a tear. 4 kills, potentially can find this 5th one if he wants the ace.
It's up to HUD, the last player alive, now playing a passport tag, trying to make a push happen on the backside while his teammates push from the front. But they had no good information on Kronk's position that whole time in a service position, and he tries to run inside of sight, but with what diffuser, because the diffuser's literally on the other side of the map, and he's fighting between 3 players, and they're all pushing him at the same time. He's put himself in a corner. Can he fight his way out? He does well to find one. He finds a second, but time runs out, and so do CHAWK's chances of winning that round because of their inability to clear Kronk inside of servers.
Good discipline too from the final member there from WILDCARD Aces. I believe it was Kronk himself, despite the fact that he had 4 kills and could have easily secured that ace. His other teammates rushing and dying meant that in that 1v1, if he had gotten aggressive and wanted to go secure that ace, it could have actually gone the other way, because it was, you know, they did manage to bring it back to 1v1. But yeah, it was what I was talking about, where they were setting all this utility up. They were using their flashes and their drones. They were identifying Kronk and everything, but they just weren't doing much about it. They were taking way too long. They weren't pinching as a team or coming from multiple different angles. They just kind of either were poking at him from one angle, and then when they decided to finally hit from that back door, they just walked in a single file line and just let Kronk take them both down.
Yep, and again, that comes down to just not having any info, and like I don't understand how that's possible, because again, you're going for a full horizontal take on border. Border is one of the smallest maps in a game. I feel like there shouldn't really be any good reasons why you just kind of like let a player slip the tracks there, but for Kronk that's the case, and he shows up after the rehost with a 4K. So yeah, nice round from Kronk, I guess. And for CHAWK and G, you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what you can do differently in the upcoming round, preferably having better information. And I like the lineup that they're coming up with here. a Grim and a Lion and a Deimos as well for the information game. So surely nobody slips through the crack here this time.
Looks like CHAWK maybe taking a page out of WILDCARD ACES book, as that was that one round where WILDCARD ACES did bring, I believe it was all three, a Lion, a Glaz, and an Amaru. Maybe it was just two of those. But something like that to quickly explode onto site, catch the defenders off guard, and try and take an early lead, find some nice picks, take an aggressive site control. Of course, it's one of those plays, though, where it often, because of how quick it is, it can really bite you in the butt. If you don't have the right information, you can just go straight into the Lion's Den, and it's a big risk.
Early run out as well by waiting room. It seems like a direct take here from CHAWK, and to be fair to them, they may have an opportunity to do this. There's nobody on the half wall. You can go for this direct take with glass on a bus window, cutting the site in half and fully preventing the retake back to site.
Like, everything is collapsing. Deimos below pinging the information coming out, though the player is able to successfully get to some hard floor. A zombie's going to go up, or Amaru's going to go up. Not going to really find anything quite yet. Actually, no, finds Teddy. Sorry, Kronk finds another one, though, onto Schmink. So CHAWK kind of falling apart. This is what I was talking about. They sacrifice some positioning in terms of maybe getting 1 or 2 picks, and it just doesn't really go their way, because then once they get that pick, once the dust has settled just a little bit, they realize they're deep in enemy territory. They don't have information, and you're left with what we have here, where it's now HUD and Xur having to kind of shamefully walk up the stairs. Their initial push completely failed. They don't really have much strategy other than, hey, let's maybe try and go up metal. Let's see what we can figure out. It's going to be a tough fight for them regardless, but unfortunately, that initial push from CHAWK, it did not work.
Seems like they're going to try and run out, but the drones aren't going to help them again. Kronk kind of got in server, gets a one apiece, but still very effective in this round. And WILDCARD ACES find themselves back into the lead for the first time since, I guess, since they're attacking half, which was, I think they were like 2-1 up at one point, and then it like turned into 3-1 or 3-2, then 3-3. But even then, regardless of that, it was a well-played round because, again, like you mentioned, CHAWK just simply didn't really have enough information to ensure that that execute worked well for them. They knew that there was nobody behind the half wall, and the only player playing inside of the lockers area was the player in the small office in Armory Desk, specifically the Malusi, and they couldn't quite get a kill on her despite having like full information on her on his position. And even then, they also just didn't have any information for any extra rotations that WILDCARD ACES made, like i.e. the flank downstairs that there was a Deimos trying to kill the Malusi down below, or even a player retaking in from metal to kill the Amaru, repelling up through the armory, the small office hatch and armory. It's just a lot of things kind of overlooked there from CHAWK, and they paid for it with the round loss.
Well, now WILDCARD ACES, important round for them. They're 1 away from securing match point. That gives them a bit of safety if they manage to get it, because not only will they have a 2-round buffer to try and win it on regulation, but if CHAWK keeps it close, as it has been for the most of this map, then WILDCARD ACES already have at least overtime guaranteed if they manage to get to that 6-point scoreline. But in the meantime, CHAWK are going to try and bring some stuff to make this a little different. They need to change up their strat because they don't want to keep losing rounds to WILDCARD like that. So we're seeing some new operators come out. We're seeing a gridlock come out and prevent some of those flanks up the stairs, which could potentially be a really solid strat, as there are a number of staircases and this map is really small and it's really easy for defenders to quickly flank and kind of hit you right where you're not looking.
You have to be very careful of your flanks, and that much was very obvious in the last round when CHAWK weren't very careful with their flanks. It seems like they're going to try and make an entry work inside of these stairs using the grit locks on the east balcony to lock down any rotations, but there's nobody from WILDCARD ACES playing that far up. They're playing around a lot of their utilities centered around the offices area, specifically the Archives Mirror looking directly towards the office double wall, so, or the double door. So CHAWK are going to have a really hard time trying to encounter this mirror, especially because they don't have any counters for it apart from maybe the ace, but those Selmas could always be shot out for impact.
Well, time we really see how good CHAWK gets problem solving is they're confronted with all these reinforced walls, with this mirror, with essentially knowing that all the defenders are located behind these reinforcements. What are we going to do about it? Are we going to attack head on? Are we going to try and draw attention? Are we going to go around and flank and potentially go towards armory like we see here? It's not going to work out super well across the map as Kronk finds one onto Zer. So that's shutting down that Buck, though I think most of Buck's work clearing security already happened. So not the biggest util loss, but still a loss nonetheless.
It also happens when they're trying to take the top floor, and they're not even getting started at the moment. They're just dying because they can't force their way in. They haven't dealt with the mirror windows, but it doesn't matter when everybody's dying here for Wildcard Aces. You find another kill from Jack down below, and it's all up to Teddy in the 1v4.
Spider did get down, but is now back up, so on low HP, but players are just collapsing down on Teddy. Schmink gets that pick. And this is kind of what we talk about with regards to Border, where strategically it looked like Wildcard Aces had this one in the bag. They had the advantage. Site wasn't really being contested too much. None of their walls or their utility had been dismantled. But because of the nature of the map and how it is very conducive to gunfights and a lot of just straight violent sort of engagements, CHAWK had just started walking in and just found the picks they needed. They didn't need to open anything else out. You have the gun skill, you could just take the fights even if it's from a disadvantaged position.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Yep, and honestly, CHAWK just kind of like fully blitzed onto the second floor, like you mentioned, like we both mentioned, and during that whole round, it didn't look like CHAWK had a really good way to encounter the second floor. Barrel windows were still up, reinforcements were still up, none of the walls were open. But somehow, some way, they just found the kills necessary, forced their way in, and completely unlocked the Wildcard Aces defense. So they want to try bathroom tellers again. They want to try a second floor hold again. They ditched the Mira for something completely different, still retaining the Castle, the Aruni, the Mute, and the Legion, replacing the Mira with the Warden this time around. And to be fair, there's not really many flashes. There's a lot of smoke grenades and also the glass here to play for Schmink. So you do have a way to counter that by way of the Warden.
Well, at the end of this round, one team will be up on match point, potentially able to still take it in regulation, but if the other team comes back in the next round, we will see overtime in this last map here tonight. But it all kind of depends on who takes it right here. Wildcard Aces are able to answer back. Maybe they can just hold on to this defensive side and eke out enough rounds to take this close game. It's been a lot closer than we had expected it to be. You know, we talked about wanting or expecting Wildcard Aces to be the dominant team, but they just aren't looking like that as Zer finds one onto Reapus. CHAWK are now poised to potentially take this round.
It seems like Reapus tried to like peek out towards the balcony from the 90 hallway, gets punished for it. And that's honestly a position that you probably just don't want to be playing unless that wall is reinforced. So probably a little bit of an oversight from Wildcard Aces. Maybe he did try to reinforce that wall and he just got shot in the back for it. They now recognize that Kronk is here in service. He has no safe position to play because they've completely opened up that wall in from ventilation, thus making this position that Kronk wants to play in so hard to do. And because of what happened in the round previous to this, they recognize that he is going to be playing in server. They have to be careful with how they encounter it though.
We know Kronk can be really deadly even when his position is known here and when he's being pinched. Really comes down to do CHAWK have a better solution, and they definitely do. Gekyu has the drone on him and is able to get that pick. It's a great pinch there to shut down Kronk. So it's gonna be up to the remaining 3 defenders, most of whom have kind of retreated back to site. Or, I mean, it's just actually Dame on site. You can see El Jefe still trying to potentially hold on to up top, prevent that vertical control from going the way of the attack. Teddy, right now, kind of over by the waiting room area adjacent to site, but he's going to be pinched off as he's really open there. Zer finds him. Meanwhile, El Jefe finds one up above, but plant going down. C4 just not going to find it. Gekyu gets the plant down, doesn't know that Dame is watching him from showers, and Dame, despite the fact that he fired the first bullets, gets completely turned around upon, and Gekyu finds that pick. It's all going to be up to El Jefe up top. They know he's up there because he had that engagement just a couple seconds ago. He's going to have to drop here into waiting area, and it's going to be a really difficult fight. He has a Glaz holding long angles on him. He has a bunch of really powerful guns. He's able to find one onto Gekyu, but he's got 3 more to find in the span of just 10 seconds, while he also then would want to stick the defuse, and it's not going to happen. We're going to see CHAWK be the first to get onto match point.
Honestly, just punishing the overaggression there from WILDCARD ACES, and then having a good recognition of what went wrong in a round previous to that when they were playing the Bathroom Tiller site, going for that 4 horizontal take, recognizing that Kronk had a really big safe space playing on the server's desk right next to the ventilation wall, so they just open that up completely, and he has nowhere safe to play, and his position is also well telegraphed by better drone work from CHAWK and G. So they're making improvements round to round, and like there's nothing you can complain about if you're a WILDCARD ACES, because you just got bested in that round not only by better gun skill but also by them just completely adjusting to what you did the last time around when you played that same exact site, and just doing a better job of ensuring that they have better control or a better take really on that horizontal take that they were doing. So really nice stuff from CHAWK and G, especially now that they're putting themselves on match points. And you kind of have to look at WILDCARD ACES, like, are they going to bring this into OT potentially? Because, well, the night can only get longer if they do.
Look here who CHAWK it's bringing, as they want to try and finish this out right here. A lot of chit chat happening right now between the two teams. I think they're trying to get in each other's heads, as this is the last round. As you said, it's been a long match and it's late at night, so it can be pretty easy to, get underneath someone's skin, as everyone is probably tired at this point. CHAWK have switched over to that OSA, potentially give them something a bit more safe, give them some long angles. This sort of implies that they will initially kind of look at A site and try and get OSA over there. At least that's where OSA usually goes towards, but we'll have to see. As they're going to probably not want to be super predictable. They want to do something to catch WILDCARD ACES off guard. If they just play this super conventionally, I think that increases WILDCARD ACES' chances of pushing this to OT. But you can see OSA pushing in, has already taken control of East Main Stairs, which is a pretty great spot, because normally this is held onto by defenders for a bit longer.
I heard a Nitro Cell get ripped, and I think that was the mute inside of offices, but he can't quite swing this and get it. But nobody's watching this currently, so he gets it out. Nobody shoots the Nitro Cell, and that's potentially the talent shield destroyed, and they haven't quite cleared his position. He could run away before that summer charge goes off, but I think it's been muted for the time being, but they can't get this mute out of this corner.
The grenade will force El Jefe to move out, and he does get killed from below. That's a great pinch, as they have Zur with Buck on that hatch once the mutes move. So that's the opening pick the way of CHAWK, and that's exactly what they want. They've baited out at least one of those C4s, taken it off the board, and they still have some OSA shields to work with here. So they can really start pushing towards objective and using those shields to plant themselves down and get some long angles.
Yep, and they've already wasted the only Nitro Cell here from WILDCARD ACES, and also killed the mute in the process. So a plant could be on the cards here with the talent shield that they have left, because WILDCARD ACES do not have anything to counter it. And now with the Melusi dead and the impact gone, the OSA shields are so strong now, more than ever, on this archive stick that CHAWK are trying to do.
Kronk answers back to minimize the lead that CHAWK had, but it's going to have to be a clutch out of the 3 remaining members of WILDCARD ACES if they want to win this. 45 seconds remain, so there's an okay amount of time, but if WILDCARD ACES can put a little bit more delay out, they can make this work. However, they're going straight for a plant as it's going down, but Kronk and Reapus find one. Plant's going to be stopped. Dame has to find Schmink and shut him down. It's all up to Zur, who's down below, and it looks like WILDCARD ACES somehow managed to stave off the plant, stave off the attack, and push this to overtime.
Yeah, honestly, they just didn't have players in the right positions to cover. Nobody's covering the OSA when the players are double swinging OSA, and I think by that time, WILDCARD ACES had a 3v2, and the last player and the other player that wasn't the OSA, I think was Buck, was down below too. So I'm very confused as to how that could have went wrong. Players losing their gunfights in offices, how is that? How is that allowed to happen when theoretically you've taken care of everything that could have stopped the archives plant from happening? Nitro Cell wasted from the office shuffle wall. The impact's gone because you killed Melusi. Nothing can stop the OSA plant from happening, but crucial gunfights being lost in offices sealed the deal for that round against CHAWK G. And now we're going into OT.
Yeah, it's very frustrating when you see rounds like that where it really just came to the post-plant coverage just wasn't there, and that should be one of the easier parts of Siege. I mean, once you have a successfully safe part of site where your planter can't be gotten and the defenders have to push and take new
10 seconds
positions,
left before insertion.
it should be an easy win for your guys doing post-plant, but
5 seconds left.
in this case, it just wasn't. Somehow, the members of CHAWK, it was a bit of a throw on their part there. As they could have sealed it out, but we're in overtime now. Wildcard Aces have 2 rounds on the defense, and it's kind of looked like defense has actually been fairly strong, at least for border, it's been fairly strong. This might actually be enough that Wildcard Aces might have a slight advantage in overtime and can win this, and that would be really brutal for CHAWK to be so close to winning their first match here in the group stage, to throw it at the last round where they had advantage, where they had site control, and for Wildcard Aces to potentially win it out in overtime.
And also the ability too. I mean, now this time around, it seems like Wildcard Aces are doing the same thing as GR. It seems like they want to try and think pretty early. You can maybe try and waste the Nitro Cell here from El Jefe playing inside of offices on the triple wall too. So you get rid of a Nitro Cell, you get rid of one of the main counters that can really affect the talent shield here on Iosa from CHAWK. So you have to hope that they kind of do the same thing as last time, but instead of just giving away bodies over by offices, they have a better time in executing. But Ace was down. It's a quick trade to ensure that Ozone goes down, and they also just killed the only player with the Nitro Cell.
Spider does manage almost to be picked back up, but Kronk goes out. Luckily, Schmink is there for at least some more coverage, but it's funny, there's kind of this rotating, this musical chairs almost of people getting run out on, and then there's coverage, and now he's going to go try and revive him, and then maybe we're going to see a hop out here from Teddy. I don't know. But a very aggressive defense coming out for Wildcard Aces that hasn't exactly been the most fruitful, though Gekyu isn't picked up yet. So it still is officially a 3v3 until he does get picked up. It's going to be Zur attempting for that, but this hop out could be huge. He's just laying there in wait. Is he going to execute in time? I don't think so, because Gekyu's back up. That means all the attacker guns are back up and trained. And it may have been a wasted opportunity from Teddy there, who's now going to get pinged out because of those logic bombs coming out from Dokebi.
Go out. Osa Shield's not on the ground quite yet, but they are going to use it to try and apply more pressure towards Teddy playing it inside of the Canadian position. Now rotating to the radio window. CHAWK have still found it that they still retain a man advantage, but another jump out on the same balcony ensures a kill, but it doesn't matter in the end because CHAWK find 2 of their own. They close the round out on this office execute, and they also put themselves up on match point officially here in OT.
Scratch what I said about potentially the defense being the favored side here in overtime. Is CHAWK kind of steal that round back from the jaws of defeat? Is it, for me at least, it looked like, given how much time had passed and how much map control CHAWK had, they shouldn't have been winning that, but they managed to fight some engagements that I think honestly Wildcard probably shouldn't have been peaking. And they should have been playing the clock a little bit more, especially since they had Teddy in that suicide position, tucked back in the same room as the attackers. Let the attackers just waste as much time. Let Teddy potentially waste time, if not find a pick. I don't know why everyone else died on site, and then Teddy comes in, gets 1 pick jumping out, and then everyone knows where he is. Felt like another strange round where the attack probably was gifted some stuff there, but a round is a round is a round, and CHAWK are up.
Well, I mean, we're here. I didn't think we would. I really, honestly, I'm
10 seconds left before insertion.
I'm completely flustered because not only is it like it's 11 p.m., but also this match has been going on for a while. I think this is not our first OT on, but it feels like it, to be fair, because I haven't seen any of the other games so far, to be honest with you. Or I don't really remember the scoring. So that's the better way to phrase it. I don't remember the scoring of the other games. But it is a good time as any to like go into OT, especially with how close this matchup has been. I predicted that once we did see this map, I felt like it was going to be close because both teams have the same type of play style, and so far it's flashing up to go into such a close matchup that both teams are having right now because they both have the same map style that really complement this map.
They're both they love being aggressive on both attack and defense, and yeah, you're right. That just complements this map to a T. As at every avenue, we've seen defenders running out or doing spawn peeks. We've seen attacks doing aggressive explodes up through hatches or onto windows, and we've seen it be successful both ways, and we've also seen it be unsuccessful both ways. But right now, see, Wildcard Aces, they're trying to get this wall open, and from the sounds of all that noise, they've definitely managed to get the utility off, and the wall is open. But the bigger problem is getting these players out of armory. Cade is going to be caught out of the window, not finished off, but down. And if Kronk knows this, Kronk has to keep coverage over there because Zur is still there and potentially could res Cade right now.
Yeah, and he's gonna get away at the moment as well. He literally just like crawled his way down the server hatch, and now he's just back on the site quickly picked up. So I mean, you put somebody down to 20 HP, you get rid of a player theoretically from the second floor, make it slightly weaker, but nobody has really kind of forced their way inside of the area so far. And to be fair to Wildcard Aces, they have no utility to force their way in, no flashbangs, nothing, just smoke grenades, and that's literally about it.
I like to talk about the late game cat cam picks, and it's working out for Zur as he finds one onto Reapus. Zur finds a second on the opposite side of the map onto Kronk. This is putting CHAWK in a great position to win this here and now. We don't have to go to all the rounds in overtime. Gekyu keeps that lead growing. CHAWK is potentially going to take their first win here in the map. Name getting pinged by that Legion mine, gonna get killed by Spider. It's a 5v1. It's gonna have to be a perfect ace here coming out of Teddy. He starts one up on Zur, but he's got a couple more people to find, and Gekyu upstairs finishes him off. It was a close fight. It went all the way to overtime. We expected Wildcard Aces to have the win as they were the more known team, but CHAWK G show that they are better here today on Border, and they take their first win in Xenon.
Very exciting game from start to finish, going all the way into OT. Sadly, it couldn't go to max OT, but still it was a very close game that was made very evident by both teams' playstyles complementing the map of Border very well. There was a lot of exciting gunfights, a lot of 1v1 clutches, and ultimately it culminated to CHAWK G just having a better game plan towards the end. And to be fair to Wildcard Aces, like I said in the middle of that round, they just didn't really have enough to force their way inside of the top floor. They had no flashbangs, they only had 2 nades, nothing to really force out the power positions here, and so they kind of made that round a lot harder on themselves than it should have been.
Yeah, I really think that this, as you pointed out multiple times, these teams were evenly stylized on this map. They bring similar play styles, and so I think what it came down to is who was making more errant plays, and that really looked like Wildcard Aces has multiple times where it had me scratching my head wondering, well, why did they do that? There were multiple rounds that they lost because of a strange decision or a play that just didn't seem to be the right play in the moment. And those decisions may not seem huge in the moment when they happen, but this was only won by 2 rounds. So clearly they add up, and clearly they can be really important and determine the winner of a map.
And to be fair to CHAWK G, they also had like some pretty good attacking game plans, specifically in a round before we went into OT. Like, they had a really good game plan with the OSA. It's just the office hold crumbled really, really hard. And then on top of that, like, their defenses were also really solid on a map that doesn't favor the defenders all that well. At times, Wildcard Aces seemed very stuck on their attacks, especially when they couldn't force aggressive gunfights. And that really crippled them in the end, because you saw players just kind of like challenging into 3-way crossfires by themselves. And to be fair to CHAWK G, they played better as a team, as a unit, than Wildcard Aces did in this whole entire map.
Well, congrats to Wildcard Aces, or I mean to CHAWK G, as they get their first win. That has been us for this evening. It's been a long evening, but hopefully we've been great. We had some fun games, but tomorrow there are more games. Tune in around 5:30 p.m. Eastern time for some more stuff, for more Xenon. But for tonight, we are done. Thank you for sticking around with us if you stuck around for this whole long endeavor, and have a good rest of your night.